On Global TV News Express, Buhari to be buried Tuesday as mourners flood Daura residents. In business, China's exports surge in June amid tariff truce with U.S. And on the foreign scene, Trump make major Ukraine statements after meeting North Atlantic Treaty Organization chief. And in sports, Barcelona signed Sweden's Badji from Carpogen on 4-year deal. Hello and welcome to all our viewers in Nigeria and around the world to News Express on Global Television, coming to you live from the nation's capital, Abuja. I am Ramsey Enoch. A quick reminder that Global Television is on DSTV channel 365 and Star Times 276. Now the news in full. Katsina State Governor Dikko Rada has announced that the burial of former President Muhammadu Buhari will take place on Tuesday in his hometown of Daura, following his death in a London hospital on Sunday, July 13, 2025. Hundreds of mourners, including family and friends, neighbors, and top government officials, have continued to visit Buhari's residence, remembering him as a humble, disciplined, and generous leader who maintained close ties with his community throughout his life. Despite tight security in Daura, commercial activities remain largely unaffected, while prominent visitors such as Katsina Deputy Governor Farouk Jobe and APC party leaders paid respect ahead of the burial. Meanwhile, tributes have continued to pour in for former President Muhammadu Buhari from global and national figures, including Amina Mohammed, Akurumi Adesina, Atiku Abubakar, Peter Obi, Femi Otedola, and others who praise his unwavering discipline, patriotism, and decades-long service to Nigeria. While the other Congress, APC described Buhari as an iconic patriot and resilient leader. Opposition parties like the People's Democratic Party also acknowledge his discipline and courage as both a soldier and a statesman. The former president, who led Nigeria as a military ruler from 1984 to 1985 and as a democratic leader from 2015 to 2023, was remembered for his principled leadership and lifelong dedication to the nation. Former President Muhammadu Buhari has died in a London hospital after a brief illness. This was confirmed in a statement issued by his former special advisor on media, Garba Shehu. In this special report, we take a brief look at the life and times of the former president.
That was Muhammadu Buhari about 4 decades ago as military head of state, inaugurating military governors following the 1983 coup. He would later spend almost 2 years leading what a section of Nigerians have referred to as the war against indisciplined military government. Buhari was born on December 17, 1942 in Daura, Katsina State. He joined the Nigerian military in 1961 and rose through the ranks, eventually leading the country as a military head of state from 1983 to 1985, a period during which he launched a nationwide anti-corruption and discipline campaign, earning a reputation for tough leadership. Following decades in public service and several attempts at the presidency, Buhari made history in 2015 when he was elected as civilian president under the All Progressives Congress (APC), becoming the first opposition candidate to defeat an incumbent president in Nigeria's political history. He was re-elected in 2019 and served 2 terms, focusing on fighting corruption, improving infrastructure, as well as tackling insecurity across the country. President Buhari's time in office saw the expansion of rail projects, social investment programs, and public sector reforms, including the Treasury Single Account (TSA). While his administration faced criticism over economic struggles and human rights concerns, The former president remained a significant figure in Nigeria's political history. He left office in 2023, retiring from active politics. President Bola Tinubu has since condoled with Buhari's family, as well as dispatched Vice President Kashim Shettima to London to return the remains of the late former Nigerian president.
Whoever thought that there has been some form of injustice on him, we are all humans. There is no doubt I hurt some people, and I wish they would pardon me. And those that think that I've hurt them so much, please pardon me. I thank you very much.
As the Daura-born retired general and former civilian president exits this world, Nigerians will continue to assess his impact on the basis of the legacy he now leaves behind. Uyi Agmofwegbe for Global TV News.
Meanwhile, President Bola Tinubu has summoned an emergency session of the Federal Executive Council, FEC, to honor his predecessor Muhammadu Buhari's legacy and service to the nation. In a heartfelt statement, President Tinubu paid tribute to the former president, describing him as a patriot and soldier. Former Vice President Yemi Osinbajo has described the death of Muhammadu Buhari as the passing of a true patriot, a disciplined public servant, and a man who exemplified moral clarity and national commitment throughout his lifetime. In a personally signed statement, Osinbajo reflected on the 8 years he served alongside Buhari, noting that their shared service to Nigeria was marked by tough decision, policy, reforms, and moments of national reflection. He offered prayers for the repose of Buhari's soul and extended condolence to his widow, Aisha Buhari, the children, and all Nigerians mourning the loss of a former commander-in-chief whose legacy will continue to shape civil leadership in Nigeria. In a related development, the National Assembly has officially suspended all legislative activities until Tuesday, July 22nd, as a mark of respect for the late former President Muhammadu Buhari, whose death was announced on Sunday. A statement signed by the clerk to the National Assembly, Kamuro Ogunlana, says President of the Senate Godswill Akpabio and Speaker of the House of Representatives Abbas Tajuddin jointly agreed on the suspension to allow members fully participate in national mourning and burial preparations. Lawmakers have been directed to reschedule all official and private engagements during the period of mourning as the nation pays tribute to one of its most consequential post-military leaders. The Nigerian Governors Forum has expressed deep grief over the passing of former President Muhammadu Buhari, describing it as a monumental loss, not only to Nigeria, but to the African continent. In a statement signed by the Forum's chairman and Governor of Kwara State, Abdurrahman Abdurrazak, the governors described Buhari as one of Africa's most revered leaders, whose dedication to public duty and most modest lifestyle stood him out as a statesman of rare caliber. The forum also extended condolences to President Tinubu, the Buhari family, and the people of Katsina State, while calling on Nigerians to reflect on the legacy of service, sacrifice, and discipline that defined the life of the late leader. The All Progressive Congress, that is APC, has emerged victorious in the Lagos State local government elections, winning all 20 chairmanship positions and 375 out of 376 councillorship seats across the state. According to the Lagos State Independent Electoral Commission, the only councillorship seat not claimed by the APC was won by the People's Democratic Party, that is PDP, in Yaba Ward D, while voter turnout appeared modest amid logistical challenges and reports of intimidation in some areas. The Chief Executive Officer of Tide Hotel and Resorts, Ife Francis Shokoya, says it is possible to get a friendly and luxury reception as a visitor in Nigeria. Ife Francis made this revelation at the opening ceremony of Tide Hotel and Resorts in Abuja. Global television correspondent has the details.
The Chief Executive Officer of Tide Hotel and Resort, Ife Francis Shokoya, described Tide as a global brand that will bridge the gaps in the hospitality business.
And I know that, having luxury, right, is possible. That having this kind of quality is possible. And that is what brought about, this vision that we should create this lasting legacy that would give our customers, just like you're experiencing here today and other people, bold elegance. In our values, when we're talking about, we're talking about being welcoming, loyal, the things that keep the customers and how they want to feel. That is the way we're going to sustain it, because when you do that, any customer any guest who comes here, would always keep coming back, and that's the experience that we want to keep. That's a legacy that we're driving towards.
Guests at the grand opening ceremony, after a tour of the facility, expressed how they feel about Tide Hotels and Resorts.
I'm going to recommend this to some of my colleagues because this is something that a whole lot of people are looking forward to. The location, it's really nice, and honestly, I'm going to recommend this on social media.
And I like the idea that each of the rooms has its own music and mood lighting, really, that you can tailor, individually, manually adjusted by you.
Tide Hotels and Resort is a brand that is positioned for both local and international customers, as the facility is equipped for a world-class luxury. Ramsey Enoch Agbo reporting for Global TV News.
The House of Representatives Committee on Hydrological Services and Hydroelectrical Power Producing Area Development Commission has called for a coordinated national response to the rising threat of floods across Nigeria. Chairman of the committee, Pascal Ugbodike, says urgent action is needed, particularly in high-risk areas near major dams and flood-prone communities. Again, Aniete Patrick report for Global Television News. We bring you that report in our subsequent bulletin. More stories coming from News Express as humanitarian aid continues to pour in for victims of the recent Yelwata attack in Benue State. Displaced residents are calling for the rebuilding of their community to enable resettlement in their ancestral homes rather than remaining in camps. This follows recent report that internally displaced persons, that is IDPs, rejected the state government's resettlement efforts, citing insecurity and poor planning. Our correspondent in Benue State, Felicity Ndere, visited the affected area and the Macaulay International Market, where some victims are currently taking refuge, and brings us this report.
It has been a month of mixed emotions and profound uncertainty for victims of the deadly attack on Yelwata community, which claimed over 200 lives and left many displaced.
My humble appeal is that if the government could help us and bring us back to our ancestral home, we were not meant to be in IDPs.
Survivors say the community continues to suffer silent, sporadic attacks following the horrific incident of June 13, further worsening their plight. They are now appealing for the complete rebuilding of the community, especially the market, alongside the provision of basic amenities and adequate security to help them return to normal life.
Every of things have been destroyed, and we are managing from this primary school is the place that we are sleeping, and there is no way to go and farm, no way to eat, no way to doing some other things. And now we need the security so that they can help us, because as this thing happened, no way to go farm.
We need to rebuild that market, because when you do that, number one, You are giving us hope. Again, the clinic that I told you that we have a clinic here is down. Nothing is happening here. Part of them is gone down.
The Minister of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Reduction, Professor Nemtawe Yewada, visited Yewata community on the President's directive, announcing plans to rebuild the community through a comprehensive response focused on peace building, humanitarian aid, and long-term development.
We are looking at both the human and material destruction that took place in this place. Human lives were lost, buildings were destroyed, businesses were destroyed, livelihoods were destroyed, and to us as a government we see this as serious and unacceptable, and we must respond to it as quick as possible to restore life, restore security, and ensure that livelihoods return back to these people of this community, and that's why we're here.
The minister also met with key stakeholders at the government house in Makurdi for a needs assessment exercise, assuring that peace would soon return to Yewata and other crisis-hit communities in Benue State. In Makurdi, Felicity Ndere reporting for Global TV News.
You're watching the live broadcast of Midday News. When Midday News returns, President Trump to make major Ukraine statement after meeting North Atlantic Treaty Organization chief. Details coming shortly, plus business and sports stories on the other side of this break. News Express returns after this break. Stay with us. Welcome back from that break. Now let's take you to the world of business, where China's exports rise by 5.8% in June, surpassing economic forecast, just as the country reached a tentative agreement with the United States to ease trade tension and reduce mutual tariffs. Despite ongoing economic challenges, including debt-ridden property sector and sluggish consumer demands, Beijing continues to rely on export strength to fuel recovery in the face of Trump-era trade policies and global uncertainty. Customs officials hail the trade truce as a hard-won victory and urge continued dialogue, stressing the coalition would not resolve the long-standing dispute between the world's two largest economies. Oil marketers and industry stakeholders have thrown their weight behind the proposed sale of Nigeria's refinery under the management of the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, that is NNPCL, calling for transparency, inclusiveness, and accountability in the process. They noted that the sale of privatization of the Port Harcourt, Warri, and Kaduna refineries, which have gulped trillions of naira in rehabilitation and maintenance with little or no result, will finally open the downstream sector to competition, ensure better pricing, and stop what many describe as a financial black-hole. The Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries, that is OPEC, has warned that $14.9 trillion in upstream oil investment is urgently needed between 2025 and 2050 to avert a globally energy crisis and meet future demand. In its 2025 World Oil Outlook, OPEC projects global demand rising over 123 million barrels per day by 2050, up from 103.7 million in 2024, and dismisses forecast of declining fossil fuel as unrealistic. The report stressed that upstream operations, including exploration and production, will consume the lion's share of investment, with $574 billion required annually, alongside $3.3 trillion needed for midstream and downstream sectors combined. On the foreign scene, South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa has suspended Police Minister Senzo Chunu after explosive allegations emerged linking him to organized crime networks and obstruction of justice in high-profile cases. In a televised national address, Ramaphosa announced the formation of a judicial commission of inquiry and named law professor Firoz Kochialia as interim minister pending investigation. Muchunu, who denies any wrongdoing, is accused of interfering in probes involving political killings and internal police corruption, prompting what Ramaphosa described as an urgent and comprehensive national security response. United States President Donald Trump is scheduled to meet Secretary General of the Northern Atlantic Treaty Organization, North Atlantic Treaty Organization Mark Rutte, at the White House today, where he is expected to deliver a major statement regarding new U.S. military support to Ukraine. The announcement follows report that sophisticated American weapons will be sent to Kyiv as Ukraine's President Zelensky confirms productive talks with United States envoy Kate Kellogg amid ongoing war tensions. Meanwhile, the Kremlin insists on continued diplomatic dialogue over Ukraine, even as Ukrainians cautiously welcome the promised aid while remaining wary of shifting United States policy under Trump. Now from the world of sport, Barcelona have completed the signing of 19-year-old Swedish winger Rooney Bargi from FC Copenhagen in a 4-year deal, making him the second acquisition of the summer transfer window, despite a serious knee injury that sidelined him for nearly a year. Bargi is expected to join the team for pre-season, where manager Hansi Flick will assess his readiness for the senior squad. The promising youngster, who scored 15 goals in 84 appearances for Copenhagen, joins a fellow new signing, John Garcia, in strengthening Barcelona's evolving lineup ahead of the new Liga season. Nigeria's Flying Eagles stormed into the semi-final of the 2025 UAFB Under-20 Boys Camp with a 4-1 win over Benin Republic, bouncing back from a narrow opening draw against Ghana after conceding first goal from Mohamed Abdullahi, Ezekiel Pangu, Imrana Mohammed and Abdullahi Majid sealed a dominant turnaround in Accra, with the team displaying superior tactical coordination in the second half. Now on 4 points, Nigeria awaits the outcome of the Ghana-Benin clash to determine the final group standing and next opponent. Nigeria Super Falcons will head to a goalless draw by Algeria in their final Group B match of the 2024 Women's African Cup of Nations. Despite dominating possession, shots and play already qualified for the quarterfinals, coach Justin Madugu rotated his squad heavily, benching key players like Asisat Oshola, Halimatu Ainde and Michelle Alozie for a largely experimental lineup. The 9-time African champions finished top of the group with 7 points and are yet to concede a goal in the tournament, heading confidently into the knockout stage. As Global TV News Express come to an end, here is a recap of the top stories. Katsina State Governor Diko Rada has announced that the burial of former President Muhammadu Buhari will take place on Tuesday in his hometown of Daura, following his death in a London hospital on Sunday, July 13, 2025. In business, China's export rose by 5.8% in June, surpassing economic forecast, just as the country reached a tentative agreement with the United States to ease trade tensions and reduce mutual tariffs. Now on the foreign scene, United States President Donald Trump is scheduled to meet Secretary General of the Northern Atlantic Treaty Organization, North Atlantic Treaty Organization Mark Rutte, at the White House today, where he is expected to deliver a major statement regarding new U.S. military support to Ukraine. Now finally, from the world of sport, Barcelona have completed the signing of 19-year-old Swedish winger Rune Berg from FC Copenhagen on a 4-year deal, making him the second acquisition of the summer transfer window. And that's it on Global TV News Express. A quick reminder that Global TV is on DSTV channel 365 and Star Times channel 276. Kindly follow us across all social media platforms now showing on your screen using @GlobalTVNG. I am Ramsey Enoch Agbo. Thank you for watching.